Right, so the second day of the third Test match sees England with a deficit of 158 with just 2 wickets left in hand. Is this the day that finally their Ashes hopes died? We'll be discussing that, trying to go through the weeds of what has been a very, very irksome day for England fans, but a brilliant day for Australia, whose bowlers have dominated today. They've given absolutely nothing away. They've been superb. For England, some precious few shining lights. Ben Stokes, the captain, leading the way, still there, unbeaten at the close of play. A very lengthy vigil, 151 balls he's faced for his 45. With him, Jofra Archer in an unbroken 9th wicket stand of 45, which you have to say has probably been the brightest spot of the day. And of course, a fairly pugnacious knock from Harry Brook, but also one in which he batted within himself. Before we go to Dawid Malan, who is with us, and Glenn McGrath, Aggers, your sort of helicopter view of a day that just felt flat for England but brilliant for Australia.
Yeah, started badly. I thought England with the ball this morning were poor. They let Australia score 45 runs in those last 2 wickets, which will start cutting and scything his way to another half century. England really should have come out hard. It took them a while to crank up again. I wish that Jofra Archer, Bryden Castle would look at Mitchell Starc. And he's out there, he's warming up. He bowls properly for at least an over. I mean, full tilt as a warm-up, and so therefore he comes in to bowl his first over, but actually it's his second. He's warmed up and he comes roaring, and he bowls at 90 miles an hour first ball. You don't see that from England. And Archer's first ball today was 83. It's just, it's just getting out there and really getting stuck in from the word go. So that was disappointing from England's perspective. If they'd gone bang bang, knocked them over and gone out there, you just feel slightly different about the day that's ahead. So that was a poor start. I think when you're looking at the way that England batted, you have to acknowledge that they've really tried to bat in the way that people have been asking them to play. Whether that's been a good thing because of them, as what it's done to them, their mental state, and they're being tentative, perhaps. But they've largely fallen to good bowling, and I think Australia's bowling today was outstanding. Crawley got a good ball for 9. Duckett turned. Ollie Pope, I feel really sad about that dismissal, because I was talking at the end just now. He can bat, he can play. I've seen him score some wonderful hundreds. Why is he been reduced to that sort of shot play? Something's gone wrong somewhere with his development, with his coaching, with the environment, whatever it is. He's a better player than flicking Nathan Lyon just back in the side, straight to mid-wicket for 3 and walking off. And then it just opens the doors, doesn't it? Because Duckett got one in the same over that turned a bit. You can't do that at number 3. You can't. And unless he scores something remarkable in second innings, I think that will be it, certainly for the while for Ollie Pope. They'll have to make a change. And I don't know how good Jacob Bethel is. No one does, really, because he's hardly played any cricket. But he's here as a replacement, and I just think that if England lose here, then they have to make a change. And that's a real shame. Root a good ball. I really like the way that Harry Brook batted. Again, you touched on it there, but he played much more in a way that people have been asking him to play. Yes, he played a wonderful stroke over extra cover for 6 off one of the quicker bowlers, but it wasn't the flailing, mad, swiping sort of a shot that we've seen him play up to now. This is a beautiful controlled shot because he's a great player and he can bat. He plays a shot like that. It was virtually chanceless the way that he played it, but incredibly skillful. More of that, please, Harry, going forwards, because you're giving yourself much more of a chance. 45 from 63 balls, that's a perfectly decent scoring rate. There'll be talk about Snicko, of course, but I think that's largely irrelevant. I think today's main story is that Australia's bowling was outstanding, and England have just not been able to live up to that constant probing. And I said before, yesterday, I have no idea how many times I used the word cut. And again this morning when England were bowling. I don't think I've said it once when Australia were bowling. That's the difference in the length that the two teams have bowled.
Well, just to tidy up that, Australia added 45 runs to their overnight 326, and they did it with 9 or 10 fours. It was horrible to watch, really. Archer's first over was pretty slothful, and then Carr's started instead of Josh Tongue, which none of us could understand. Archer it was who took the 2 wickets, though, to end with 5 for 53, and he did bowl splendidly throughout, really, apart from that first over. Today, 5 for 53 off 20.2 overs. The standout bowler, the damage had really been done yesterday when Australia were allowed to get away, and those would have felt like bonus runs perhaps for Australia. But when England went out to bat, there's a real sense as that opening partnership got off to a good start, 37 in next to no time, that the pitch was flat, the day was boiling hot. Dawid Malan is with us, and it felt like a beautiful day to bat. But it didn't turn out that way for England. What was it? Still a beautiful day to bat and a beautiful pitch, but just Australia were too good?
I think it was. I think if you've batting on day 2 at Adelaide, it tends to be a little bit of turn at Adelaide, but generally later in the game, you have everything in your favour. Hot day, Pat Cummins just coming back from a long injury layoff, so you have a lot going in your favour, and I think England would be extremely disappointed to finish the day as they did.
I mean, England found, they found a pretty good tempo up front, but then they lost those 3 wickets for 5 runs. And you'd have to say it's not the driving on the up anymore. It's not the cross-batted swish that Zach Crawley got out to when he was in the 70s at Brisbane. It was really good bowling from Pat Cummins, who's come back into the side. He's not had any preparation. He's not had any warm-up games, but he hit his straps immediately. Got one to nibble. Took Zach Crawley's outside edge. But Ollie Pope, I've got to ask you, Darren, Aggers has just alluded to it there. Is this the day the Pope died? Is that it?
Well, I think he's got an uphill battle in front of him, Ollie Pope. He's had a lot of chances. He's been backed for a hell of a long time, and he has, in that time, played some exceptional innings. He has scored some phenomenal hundreds for England that everyone has looked at and gone, there is the player that you are. Unfortunately, he's not done it consistently enough in between, and I think if you look at the shot today, he'd be the most disappointed with that. It's a good wicket, as we said earlier, good day to bat, and he's just gifted Nathan Lyon just the simplest of dismissals. And when you're playing Test cricket, you know, you're going to be facing the best bowlers, you're going to be under pressure and scrutiny, and you're going to be getting good balls in your career, and the last thing you want to do is just to be gifting an off spinner such a simple wicket as that, and especially in a crucial time in the game. You've just lost a wicket before, and then suddenly you're giving momentum back to Australians, and as you said, Ben Duckett loses his wicket and that's over as well, and suddenly you go from a really strong position to 3 down, and you're facing the hardest battle you can.
I mean, what was so sad about it seemed to me, was that you could see his struggles. It wasn't just that ball in isolation. He played a very confused shot of a ball from Pat Cummins where the bat was just in no way, it wasn't in the right place to play the ball. Bottom hand had sort of scrunched his bat round at a weird angle, a bit like how he got out to start when he dragged on at Brisbane. And after the first innings he played at Perth, when everything looked fine, he was still, his leaves were proper and controlled. He then got out LBW, and he seems to do this thing, Dawid, where he fixates over the dismissal that he's had, and then sort of tries to play the battle before, thinking too much about how he got out before. I mean, how did you read it? It was back to the skittish Pope rather than the calm Pope.
It was, and there's been a lot of criticism over the way he starts in the past, and it's justifiably so when you watch how he goes about it. It almost looks to me as if he's so desperate to score runs, and he's trying so hard to get himself a start that he's just hanging his bat at everything, and he's too frantic in the way he wants to go about scoring. Batting is about finding your tempo, so not a tempo that anyone else thinks you should be batting at, but you should find the tempo that works for you, how your feet move, how you want to score, where you want to look to score, what your game plan is. And to me, it looks like he goes out every innings and it's just, I want to try and feel bad on ball, and I'm going to try and get off to a good start, and I'm going to try and get to 10 or 15 or 20, whatever his number is, and then sort of settle into my innings. But as you said, at Perth, he seemed composed, he left well. Since he chopped on at Brisbane, he doesn't look like he's left well at all. It looks like he's trying to score off every ball, which is fine. The intent to score has to be there. You have to always look to score. But in Australia, if you leave really well, you have more chance of scoring runs.
The other part of this is, and I'm slightly baffled about the way England then batted afterwards. I say baffled. I want to ask you how easy it would be for the players to change their approach, because Stokes made it very clear, didn't he, in that second innings at Brisbane, that he wanted people to dig in. He and Jacks just put up some fight, and he did it again today, almost by setting by example. And Harry Brook, I thought, found that right tempo, didn't he? He got it, just as Aggers said, 40, 45 or 63. That's absolutely fine. But at the same time, he was reining himself in a touch. He wasn't scoring boundaries in the way he normally would. Do you think that it's quite difficult for a side to take a different approach from the one that they've been really, harking on about for the last 3 years, and then put it into practice in a pressure situation when the whole of the Ashes is on the line?
I think it's incredibly tricky. I think this whole team has been built around being positive, being taking a game on, being pushing the limits. I think we've been fed that by them. I think we've all been sucked in by it. We've all enjoyed watching it. That's why we've been so positive about them coming here, that they're going to come and play a different brand of cricket than they've been playing in the previous England teams. They've got pace. Their batters are going to take the game on. They're going to put Australia under pressure, as they did in the last Ashes series in England, where they managed to get 2 wins at the end and put Australia under a hell of a lot of pressure towards the end. So I think the disappointing thing from that point of view is that they changed the way they wanted to go about it, which I agree to some extent, that you have to look to play the conditions, you have to look to learn from your mistakes. But if you've practiced something for 3 years, to suddenly turn around and say, actually, do you know what? Let's just chuck all that away. Let's just chuck the players that we've picked to play that way and ask them to play a different way. I think that becomes incredibly hard. So that should have been a discussion that they've had before they came to Australia, that they wanted to play a tougher brand of cricket, that they were going to probably knuckle down a little bit more, that they were going to leave better, they were going to make Australia bowl more overs, which in turn in Australia makes it batting a lot easier the later you bat. So to answer your question, yes, I think it makes it incredibly difficult to change the way you're doing it in a game, especially with the type of play that they've picked.
And is it hard, David, to do that without actually playing a game to change it? I mean, do you think that the batsman should be batting more in games of cricket, not just Test cricket, but in actual games? You talk about a game plan there. Hard to develop a game plan in the nets, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, but it's a tricky one as well. As a modern player, to find the time to keep playing warm-up games and practice games, as well as all the tours that you have and all the franchise tournaments. So it is incredibly difficult to find that. I would question, and there's been a lot of talk, I'd question why a lot of the players went to New Zealand for the white ball series. I would have said they probably should have come out to Australia and sort of parked that white ball series to some extent and given that as a second string England team, because there's so much depth in white ball cricket in England that they could have taken a team out there and brought all those white ball players to Australia and given them more time, and probably had more time to prepare against the proper opposition if they were able to get that. And I know that's been the argument as well, is this Sheffield Shield games and Australia A and what have you, who they're actually going to play against. So if they can get that scheduling right in future, I think it's going to be worth it. But the modern player does find it hard to play 15 test matches a year, plus ODIs, plus T20s, plus franchise cricket, plus your domestic stuff when you have to play. I think they play the 100 majority of them as well now. So to then add another 2 warm-up games makes that schedule incredibly hard and means that you're away for longer periods of time and you're probably under a lot more pressure mentally to perform leading up to that.
David, we appreciate we've got to let you go. Thank you so much for joining us on today's podcast. And we just have to hope for some kind of a miracle tomorrow.
Cheers, David.
No worries.
Right, so let's go back to the way England batted. And I felt that they kind of got the tempo sort of right up to a point. But then Australia, Glenn, bowled so much better than England. So we were thinking that this was a pitch that was a good one and that was run-soaked. And yesterday was a bit of a false dawn for England, because Australia gifted quite a lot of wickets. England didn't gift many wickets. We've talked about Ollie Pope. He did. We will talk about Jamie Smith. He did. But for the most part, there was diligence in England's approach, but there was brilliance from Australia's bowlers.
Yeah, you're right there, Dan. And the way England bowled yesterday, you look at the pinch maps, it wasn't consistent bowling, making Australia play good deliveries, ball after ball after ball. Some of the shots that Australia played, you look at that one from Marnus Labuschagne, first ball after lunch, that changed, the whole tempo of their innings as well. So, yeah, and then the way Australia bowled today, they just don't give you anything. Mitchell Stark's he didn't pick up any wickets here today, but from first ball, ready to go, just bowled such great areas. Pat Cummins, we weren't sure how he was going to go, but just come back in the zone. And then Scotty Boland, if there's anything in the pitch, he just finds it. And so you're always facing good deliveries, and you've got to work out ways of how to score and get off strike and ticking the scoreboard over. And you can be positive by getting 3, 4, 5 singles each over. So you've got to know your scoring areas, and know where they're trying to get me out here. This is the danger point. But occasionally I can come down and like Brooke did and hit one over the top. That's his game. when you've got someone like Carey coming up to the stumps, then you've got to be a little bit smarter. So, yeah, I think England, they're in that zone where they're not 100% sure what to do. You know, the plan they had when they came here to be ultra aggressive hasn't worked on the pitches they've played on, and then they've been crucified in the media because of it. This pitch here doesn't have the same demons that they, so I think their approach probably would have worked better on this pitch than Perth and Brisbane. But you've got to give credit to Australian bowlers. They know the conditions, they know where to bowl, and so unfortunately for England, it's been another bad day for them.
But there are different ways of putting pressure on bowlers than simply smacking them for four, aren't there? I mean, you've got Cummins back after a huge long layoff. Lyon still back and angry, having been dropped, and obviously he's 2 away from your record and all that sort of stuff. So you don't give them wickets. I mean, Cummins' case, you keep running in, mate. You haven't played since July. Have a few hours out there, see how you get on. Nathan Lyon, I'm not going to chip a catch to mid-wicket. You're going to be searching for these wickets. Put some pressure on you that way. It's not all about smacking them for 4s and 6s. It's getting into those bowlers' heads as well.
But that is how Pope got out. But actually, the way Crawley got out was
he got a good
lovely
ball.
bit of bowling.
Good ball. No,
the way Brooke got out is a lovely bit of bowling. So, how is it that an Australian can come into the side 3 months after playing his last game and look as if he has been well prepared and has played 4 or 5 games?
He's a good bowler.
Well, this is my point. Because
he's a world-class bowler.
Australia might just, dare we say it, just be better.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the number of wickets that are out there.
But this is the point about the first 2 tests. Without Cummins, without Hazelwood, who's also a world-class bowler, Lyon at Brisbane, these are the opportunities that are being missed. Mitch Starc is a world-class bowler, and he's been head and shoulders above everybody up until actually this innings, when actually Cummins, I thought, out-bowled him, despite having not played for a while. But Cummins is special. That's why we go back to the missed opportunities of those first 2 tests.
And then the other thing on top of that, the way Nathan Lyon bowled, he bowled it tight. He knows this ground really, really well. He bowled good areas, and he held up one end and allowed the fast bowlers from the other end to bowl in short, sharp bursts. They were ready to go from ball 1. So that was Australia's game plan. And unfortunately for England, again, they couldn't get them away from that. They didn't really take Lyon on to hit him out of the attack to make the fast bowlers bowl more from this end. So, it's just about adapting, being match aware, just different things like that.
I mean, it's also having fabulous skills all round, isn't it? Because, let's face it, the wicket of Will Jacks, it's almost blameless on Will Jacks. He's done very little wrong to that ball. He's got a seam bowler who's come in and bowled a ball that's jagged back. He's got a big inside edge. It can't be LBW. It's bounced off his inner thigh, but unbelievably, Alex Carey is standing up to the medium fast bowler, and with brilliant reflexes and game awareness, he dives forward and takes a catch that 99 times out of 100, Will Jacks has actually got enough bat on that to save himself.
You can bet your life there's probably only one other wicketkeeper in the world who could have been standing up at that stage, and that's
Ben Foakes.
Yes,
right.
it's Smith's senior partner, as it were, because they wouldn't be standing up. No one else would be standing up. Carey's brilliant. Just the gameplay of that is and to have Boland nagging away and the keeper standing up behind it, chuntering away. That's all part of the game. But no, I think Jacks can consider himself very unlucky. He really didn't do a lot wrong. It was just the brilliance of Carey that got him out.
I mean, not many of them did do a lot wrong, and I'm afraid this is the moment when we're going to have to go into Snicko world, because Snicko reared its ugly head again. I don't want to talk too much about it because we did it yesterday. The top line is Snicko is a mess.
It is.
One of the Australian players said that it needed to be sacked. It was the worst technology ever. This was Australians being upset, right? When there was a thoroughly confusing passage of play when Jamie Smith punched the ball, it seemed, but it was decided that it actually hit his helmet because Snicko got it all wrong. All the time Usman Khawaja hadn't taken a clean catch anyway, so it was totally unnecessary for us to go through it. So that was a farce.
Yeah.
And then he plays, look, it's a poor shot, one of the few really poor shots played today. Jamie Smith having hit a 6 on a 4 over deep mid-wicket, gets a short one, does a bit of a Crawley at Brisbane, swishes across a waist-high ball. He thinks he's missed it. Snicko shows the edge sometime different from where we see the ball and the bat.
At least we thought it was. We think it shows an edge. I mean, the big difference, Dan, is that the ones that we're used to at home, and in ICC cricket, which is supplied by Hawkeye, give you a proper jag, bang, bang. There is no doubt that is an edge. Part of the problem here is you get a sort of a smudge sometimes. Other times you get a jag, the one that Cummins got to into his thigh pad. Nice big jag, thanks very much indeed. So therefore, if there's a jag for that time, why isn't it a big jaggedy one for the other times when it's instead of a mush? There's something wrong with it. My own thought is that the ICC makes an absolute fortune out of all sorts of aspects of the game. It should be supplying the best quality DRS. It insists on DRS because the problem is, like here and like everywhere, it's the host television company that provide the system. Now, the host television company has probably paid millions and millions of dollars anyway just for the rights to broadcast it. They're going to look to cut a few corners somewhere. They're going to maybe not, you get 2 quotes to supply the DRS, and you think, well, they're charging so much, but they're charging 20% more. Well, we'll probably go for the cheaper system, save some money, and that's. I'm not saying that is what has happened here, but they've ended up with an inferior product, which is a domestic product, and therefore probably cheaper than the one that have come in internationally.
Probably. But you never know.
No, you don't.
They might have spent more on an inferior product. You just don't know.
Yeah.
Let's get some reaction though from the England camp. Assistant coach Marcus Trescothick
We guessed
has
it.
been speaking. Well done. He's been speaking to Henry Moran.
What do you make of what we've seen today?
Yeah, another tough day. Obviously in the heat here. Obviously some of the guys fought really well. Obviously Ben's innings, sort of re-digging in and sort of lasting out the day and sort of surviving as long as he could. Obviously struggling a little bit with cramp because of the heat. But again, we're behind the game a little bit. Obviously, Australia bowled well and put us under pressure. And we've got a bit of work to do tomorrow to try and find a way to get into a total that we're happy with, or feel like we can then compete in the second innings and then work out the game from there.
There are many that say, how's this happened? This is an England team that were expected to come to Australia and really compete. And despite the different methods, the different plans, the different ways of trying to get into matches, the same failings time and again.
Yeah, I know we've talked about it before, as the fact that we haven't been good enough for long enough potentially in certain games and certain periods. I thought Australia's bowling on that pitch today was pretty good, and I thought the way they went about it, obviously Nathan Lyon was into the game early and got a couple of early wickets, and we just we're working at it hard, and we're trying to do and find solutions and work at ways of doing it. We've just got to be better for longer and keep sustaining our approach and our attitude to what we're trying to do.
And what is that approach and attitude?
Well, I think you can see, in different ways, we're trying to adjust and read situations. We're always trying to be positive. We're always trying to apply pressure back into the game and get ahead of games and put ourselves in the front seat. And sometimes you have to adapt, and you can see the way that Ben has played today, and obviously he's decided to play in that fashion and dug in and tried to sort of scrap through. Other times we're aggressive and we try and put opposition on the back foot.
Ollie Pope's dismissal looked like a man devoid of confidence. Where's his game at the moment?
Yeah, I don't think it's quite at that point where he's devoid of confidence. I think he's obviously really disappointed. Didn't get the runs he wanted to get and found it tough, but it kind of goes like that. If you get a couple of low scores, obviously the pressure sort of comes on, and we appreciate that's what it's like. But he'll still work hard overnight, or come back tomorrow, come with a game plan of thinking about the second innings, and then try and put that into place and try and get some runs there.
Again, the technology has been a big discussion point. What have you made of it?
Well, interesting, of course. I think there's many things that have happened over the couple of days. We're kind of in the position of we are where we are with it, and it's not something that we can really dwell on. Of course, it's not been ideal. You're never really quite sure what's going on, but at the end of the day, you've got to try to put your trust and your faith in what the umpires decide and the match referees decide, and then if that's wrong or if it's different and we're unhappy with it, then the powers that be behind the scenes can obviously make that decision. But it's not ideal. The one in the first innings with Alex Carey, it is what it is, and these unfortunate things do arise in different series along the way. But we're trying to just remain as focused as we can on the boys, trying to keep them in the right frame of mind with the job that we've got to do, and let the rest of it sort of look after itself.
Is it good enough for a major series like this?
I think you always want consistency with whatever that technology is. You know, there's so many people talk about, well, we should have this type of technology, or this technology, we should use this company. I don't think we're really attuned to knowing what's the right way to do it. You know, we're cricket coaches, cricket players, and at the end of the day, like I say, we just want consistency in whatever that is. And if we get that right, then the game is going to be better for it.
Many people said this was the defining game of this era of English cricket in Test matches. At the moment, it's not going England's way. I mean, what's the feeling in that dressing room?
Oh, of course, you know, we understand that we're behind the game again, you know, and understandably that, you know, you feel disappointed, but, you know, we're still in the game and we're still fighting for as long as we can. And Ben has played well, Jofra's played really nicely there, the ball's soft. Well, they got another 10, 11 overs, I think, with this ball before we get the second new ball. So, you know, we'll keep working, we're still fighting, it's not dead and buried just yet.
Just finally, there's a lot of England fans that have paid a lot of money, made long journeys, shown a lot of commitment to this England side for this Ashes series. What's your message to them? Because there'll be some very disappointed fans.
I'm sure, and it's never easy, obviously watching us lose, and, you know, we feel it as much as anybody else, but my feeling is still the same. You know, we're really appreciative of the support we get from everybody that come over here and watch it. It's a wonderful place, and the series have been brilliant with all the crowds and everybody sort of spectator. Of course, we're disappointed, as everybody else is, that we've not quite hit the mark that we wanted to. Hopefully we can still do our best and still keep working at that to try and put smiles on their faces.
Marcus, thanks for your time.
Cheers.
We're still fighting, we're still in the game, we're not dead and buried, Aggers.
Well,
what
else can you say? I mean, it's a horrible situation again, isn't it, where a coach gets wheeled out, you know, to try and just to satisfy the media, really, and keep the needles twitching for a while. But it's an impossible job, isn't it? I mean, he knows. Yes, England are still in the game, but they're going to need a Stokes 100, you'd think, or something near close to that to get the lead down to something remotely manageable, you know, 70 or 80.
The double figures, generally, just gives them a sniff, does it?
Well, yeah, I mean, it gives you a sniff if they come out, you know, and really get amongst the wickets. But these bowlers have had no rest again. I mean, they're bowling today, and they're out there again tomorrow. This is another failing of the way that England have played in recent years, that their bowlers have no rest. They have no respite. They can't recharge batteries. Before they know it, they're out there bowling again. I mean, Jofra, I think he was off the field for 6 hours, was it? From walking off having bowled to when he's batting again. And if it had gone bang bang and he'd lost the last 2 wickets, he'd have been out bowling again tonight. And that's just unacceptable. You know, it is not sensible. It's just not well thought through, is it? It's bad planning to give your bowlers that little opportunity to refresh and come back and yes, save the game again, pull the rabbit out of the hat.
But the last word on England, say, before we move on. Stokes didn't, though, did he? Stokes obviously sees the benefit, the need of staying out there, and 45 off 151 balls. I dare say before we go off air, Andy Zonts would be able to tell us where that stands in the
the only thing I'd say about that is that yes, I understand that, but Stokes does have the luxury of doing it later on. You know, they've set this tone of the batsman to go out there and be positive and, you know, smack it about. It is not the first time by a long chalk that has failed, and Stokes has gone out there and played this very defensive sort of innings. Now, would he do that if he was batting at number 3, say? I'm not saying he should bat number 3, but I'm just saying that the batsmen who go in before it are expected and have been expected to go out there and seize the game by the scruff of the neck, go out and attack the bowling. And when it's gone wrong, then Stokes has played like this. Well, that's nice for him to be able to do that. Some of those ahead of him have not been able to do that. It was a bit of a reverse when dear old Jeffrey was playing. He'd block it for hours, and those lower down the order, Ian Botham would have to go out there and smack it about to you know, try and get up the run rate and so on. And that's what Ian Botham would say anyway. So yeah, I mean, I admire the way that he's played. He's shown a lot of discipline and a lot of determination, but is that the message that the other players could have gone out there with? At the start of the innings.
And now a landmark was reached today by an Australian cricketer. He became the second leading wicket taker for Australia, Nathan Lyon, and he did it in his first over. He came on 562 wickets, and the man sitting next to me had 563, still has 563. But within 7 minutes, Nathan Lyon had leapfrogged you up to 564. Just give us a bit of a tribute to Nathan Lyon, because the 564 wickets is colossal. That's the fifth leading wicket taker of all time.
Yeah, so he's unbelievable
Sixth,
bowler.
I beg your pardon, sixth.
Yeah, so it's he deserves to be in that number 2 posse. He's been an amazing bowler for Australia for a long, long time. He's been out there 141 Test matches. Absolutely incredible, and he gets better every year. He knows his craft so well. He bowls well in Australian conditions. He's liked the newer ball to get that bounce. He's found ways to take wickets. So he's had to wait a little while, but when it came in 1 over, and he's now at 564 wickets, and very, very deserved. He'll be remembered as one of the greats. Easily the greatest off-spin bowler Australia's seen. It's hard to go past Warney. He was something pretty special, but Nathan Lyon is pretty special in this team, and for him to get that 564th wicket today, I think is very special, and I'm really happy for him. He deserves it. Great bowler, great cricketer for Australia, leads the team song, so he's a massive part of this team, and we saw when he got left out in Brisbane, he was he wasn't.
He was filthy.
Filthy, wasn't he? He was filthy. So, to come out and get those wickets early, and it's probably been in the back of his mind. Now he can just focus on going out there and playing, and I'm really happy for him.
Well, I'm pretty sure he wasn't filthy when he gave Ishiguro his thoughts on the day.
It's been a pretty tough day. Nice and hot out there, but it's nice to contribute and finally get into the series.
What was the key for you?
Just bowl my best ball and keep doing the basics really well. There's no secret behind what I do, so it's just about doing the basics for long periods of time and hopefully create a bit of pressure.
Must have enjoyed that one to Ben Duckett.
Yeah, that was a nice one.
Searing hot conditions. How was it out there for the rest of the boys?
Pretty proud about the way the guys have gone about it. Pat's been phenomenal as captain, as always, but the effort from our fast bowlers to get them 8 for 213 off 68 overs, it's a pretty big effort. So rest up, recover, and we'll have another crack in the morning.
We're in a great position. You want for ice baths?
I'm going to need to.
All the best. Thanks, Nathan, and well done once again.
Well, if Nathan needs an ice bath, you'd think the fast bowlers would need them as well, wouldn't you, Glenn? And especially Pat Cummins. So just a quick thought on Cummins before we go to Zoltz, because I said earlier, it's all about preparation, isn't it? Coming in, not being undercooked. He looked absolutely perfect.
Yeah, he looked
bashed out of length.
Yeah, so I was curious to see how he'd go, because the first test against England last year, I thought our bowlers were a little bit underdone, and it showed in that first test, and Australia lost that one over in Perth. But Pat Cummins, I think he would have been ready to go in Brisbane. So he's been ready to go for a while. He's been bowling a fair few overs in the nets, but that is never the same as out in the middle. And he's got good control. Knows the game well. The last thing Australia wanted to do was to be complacent, so he wanted to hit the ground running and got the balls in the right area. And I think that early wicket of Crawley was not a bad delivery. That just helps you relax and get into your innings, and he did that today. I thought he bowled well. Mitchell Starc still bowled well, but there wasn't as much movement in the air and what have you. Pat Cummins, he's a class player, and he hit the ground running.
And he also took the wicket of Joe Root. We're going to let you go, Glenn, because I think Andy Zoltzman, as we do a little stat roundup, Cummins getting Root is something that's happened quite a bit, isn't it?
Yes, that was the 12th time Cummins has dismissed Joe Root in tests for a total of 292 runs. So Root averages 24 against Cummins, which is, obviously less than half of his overall career average of 51. Ollie Pope out to Nathan Lyon for the 4th time in tests for just 37 runs. I think it's like 3 for 5 against Lyon in Australia. Jamie Pope now 15 innings against Australia, yet to reach 50. Only one other England top order specialist batter has ever had as many innings at the start of his Ashes career without reaching 50, and that was MJK Smith back in the 1960s. Jamie Smith's form since he reached 1,000 runs in just his 21st innings, the joint fastest a wicketkeeper had ever reached 1,000 Test runs. He was averaging 58 at that point. He's got 101 runs in his next 9 innings. You mentioned the different style of England batting today. They lost 6 wickets to defensive shots out of the 8 to fall. Over the course of the Bazball era, they've lost around 1 in 4 wickets to defensive shots, so that's well above average. And if they lose 2 to defensive shots tomorrow, it will set a Bazball record for most wickets to defensive shots in innings. They've had a couple of innings where they lost 7, one of them in Visakhapatnam in India, the other against India at Old Trafford last summer. So yes, it's not gone particularly well. Ben Stokes is 45 of 151 unbeaten so far. England scores in the last 10 years of innings scores after 150 balls. That's the joint 5th lowest score by an England player in the last 10 years at the 150 ball mark, and the joint 2nd lowest in the first innings of a Test. More positive for England, Jofra Archer 5 for 53, the rest of the bowlers between them 5 for more than 300. It's his 3rd 5-wicket haul against Australia. Had 2 in his debut series in 2019, just his 7th Test against Australia. The last England bowler who had 3 fifers in the first 7 tests of his Ashes career was Ken Farnes in the 1930s, Essex fast bowler. So not a lot of good stats for England, better for Australia. Let's focus on Nathan Lyon, 564 wickets now past Glenn McGrath in that dramatic first over. Only the 7th time since 1904 in Ashes cricket that a bowler has taken 2 wickets in his first over of an innings. The difference between him and Will Jacks, we've got Nathan Lyon, as Glenn was saying, one of the all-time great exponents of off-spin, Will Jacks, a novice who's taken his 50th first-class wicket during the course of this series. Jacks, about 1 in 6 of his balls yesterday was dropped short, and what the CricViz data defines as short for a spinner. Lyon just under 4%, so it's a 1 in 25. Of his balls rather than 1 in 6, so that's
4 times as.
Yeah, he also bowled straighter, got quite considerably more drift and a bit more turn as well. But we're not really comparing like with like here. So you have Jacks, I think, did creditably in the circumstances. And Alex Carey, 100 yesterday, 5 catches today. Only the 10th wicketkeeper in Test history to have a century and an innings with 5 catches in it in the same game. And only the second in Ashes cricket after Matt Pryor at the SCG in the 2010-11 series.
Absolutely brilliant. Well, there we go. That was a stat attack. Wouldn't it be great if tomorrow we get another stat attack? Highest 9th-wicket partnership for England at Adelaide, because there is an unbroken 9th-wicket partnership ongoing. A partnership of 45 between Jofra Archer, who's unbeaten on 30, and Ben Stokes, who has 45 and has dug in as the captain. England are going to need to find at least 50 or 60 more runs, absolute minimum tomorrow, you would think. And then they're going to have to bowl very, very well, and it's due to be hot again tomorrow, but not as hot as today, which maybe these are small crumbs of comfort.